The Monday after I'd been laid off, the very first day of being unemployed, I woke up and the house was cold. That was because this furnace had died. Now, I tried to repair it myself, and I talked to my neighbor who knew what he was talking about, and we could not figure it out. So eventually, I had to hire someone to come and fix it. They finally found the problem. A tiny piece of plastic that had not been removed during manufacturing that funneled water instead of draining out into the motor, which had to then be replaced, costing a couple grand. And this thing is relatively new, but it decided to fail the day I started being not employed. Which, suspicious. 1 month and a day later, the water heater completely died. No problem, it still had 6 years on the warranty. So I called the company and they said, okay, well, we can't fix it, so it has to be replaced. I said, sweet, replace it for me. And they said, no, you have to pay for it to be replaced. I was like, that's not my understanding of how warranties work. But they were unmoved, and I didn't have any control, so I had to pay money for that as well. In fact, since being let go from my job and starting on this crazy adventure, we have had close to $20,000 of unbudgeted expenses like these, and I've been spiraling. If we make no money, we're going to hit zero. If I get a part-time job's worth of money, then we'll make it 50% longer. To not trend towards zero, I need to be making a full-time job's worth of money. That's kind of difficult because in order to make money, you have to have money coming in. And in order to have money coming in, you have to have something to sell. Whether that's books or fabric or the equipment to trim people's trees. All of that requires startup capital. With film, the videos have to be done before you can sell them. And video is notoriously expensive. In fact, just looking at some of our inspiration, Mr. Rogers, in today's money, was spending about $50,000 per episode, as far as I can tell. Reading Rainbow was about $330,000 an episode. If we want to be paid, I think we're going to need something in the range of $15,000 to $25,000 per episode. That's just a finger in the wind. But even if we don't pay ourselves, there's still stuff like insurance and music licensing, and I do want to pay any cast or crew that we bring along, and then there's all the props and all the other things that we're going to need. So we need money. But unfortunately, I have a couple of values that make getting money even a little bit more difficult for us. For example, I don't think that children should have advertising. So that means that even though I could put these videos on YouTube and plan to do so, that's not my primary place where I want kids to interact with them. And that's definitely not where I want to be making my money because that's advertising to children. Similarly, I don't want people to have to pay for yet another subscription. In fact, I haven't been able to afford any subscriptions at all for about 10 years now. But in order to get grants or even onto a streaming service that already exists, if somebody's already paying for one of those subscriptions, that requires those videos to already exist. And as we already talked, we need the money to make them before they can exist. And I don't really want to take your money until we actually have something to show for it. So I also don't have that on. I do appreciate your pledges, but that's not turning on yet because I just don't feel good about taking money until we have something. If you are really interested in giving us seed money for some reason, feel free to email us at lukeslivinglibrary@gmail.com. I'd love to chat with you about this, but I'm just not taking money right now just from people. I don't feel good about that. And should we actually even get these videos done, selling them online is actually tricky. I have some things I want to talk about, but that's going to have to be a completely different video. So far from a request for funds from you, I'm asking for prayer. First, you can thank God that we even have the opportunity to try this because we actually have funds to start us down this journey just on our own, which is amazing and incredible, and that is such a blessing. But this is also incredibly emotionally taxing and scary for me. I was spiraling looking at those graphs where things go to zero. Because I did start my own business 20 years ago, and it quickly failed. But before it did, it took down a very important relationship in my life, and I almost lost the house. So I'm feeling pretty nervous about doing this again and trying to find a path forward with that. But at the same time, I just want to give you one story about how God's provision is coming through for us, even in all of this uncertainty. My wife got an email from her bank that said, hey, come claim your funds, otherwise they're going to go into the nether if you don't get them, because this account has not been active for a long time. And she was like, right, this account hasn't been active because I closed it down, so there's no money in it. But let me just log in and check. And so she did. And there were $5,000 in the account that she was sure she had closed. Like, that kind of thing is crazy. And so I'm looking forward to giving you guys more stories like that as we go forward of how God is providing for us. But at the same time, it's scary. But this is why I appreciate your support so much. And I'm not talking about funds, clearly, because I ain't taking any of it yet.